There once was a mermaid, very beautiful.
You remember Tina McGuire?
Welcome back, Warner fam. Today, I'll recap a 2017 thriller action film, Vengeance, a Love Story. So keep your eyes wide open and stay safe. Spoilers ahead. The movie starts with a man named John, who's clearly nervous as he practices his shooting skills. It's obvious he's preparing for something big. Eventually, we see John working alongside his partner as a law enforcement officer. The two officers are vigilantly surveilling a suspect at a designated location. As they observe the scene, their target suddenly tries to escape by jumping into a vehicle. Without hesitation, John springs into action, chasing down the fleeing criminal and successfully subduing him. However, in the chaos, both John and his partner are shot by the assailant, leaving John's partner wounded. During the fierce struggle, the atmosphere grows increasingly tense as John, in a moment of desperation, cries out for help. What happens next? You won't believe it. After the crazy scene with his partner, John heads to a local bar to relax. There, he meets a woman named Tina. They share a few drinks, and something about her pulls John in. Her smile, the way she talks, it's all too easy to be drawn to her. The conversation flows smoothly, lighthearted at first, but something in it sticks with John. He can't shake it. Tina's phone rings, cutting their chat short. She has to go meet her daughter, little Bethy, who's at a fun party with her friends. Tina's partner Casey is also there, enjoying the evening. As the night winds down and the party starts to quiet, Tina decides it's time to go. She's firm when she tells Casey they're leaving, no matter how late it is. Even though Casey suggests they stay the night, Tina insists they need to head home. She has something important to do in the morning, and she won't miss it. Tina and Bethy walk home, the quiet night hanging in the air. As they stroll, Tina opens up about Bethy's father, telling her how much he loved her when he was alive. But the talk is too much for Bethy. Tears start to fall, and Tina tries her best to comfort her. Slowly, the little girl calms down, and they both agree to take a shortcut home to save time. But as they walk through the quiet, less traveled path, things take a terrifying turn. A group of men, Jimmy, Fritz, Lloyd, and Marvin, suddenly block their way, sneering and taunting them. Before they can react, the men pounce, shoving Tina into a nearby building. Bethy, frightened, runs and hides inside a house. The sounds of struggle echo as Tina is attacked by the men. When the men finally leave, Bethy cautiously comes out of her hiding spot. She freezes, seeing her mother in a horrible condition. The sight is too much for Bethy, and she breaks down in tears. The scene ends with Tina gasping in pain, reaching out to her daughter as the nightmare unfolds. As John and his partner drive through town, they spot a lonely Bethy walking along the road, her shoulders slumped with sadness. John pulls over, his concern for her growing. He offers her a ride, and she reluctantly climbs in. Something is clearly wrong, so John decides to follow his gut and head straight to the abandoned house. Inside, the sight shocks him. Tina is lying unconscious on the floor, barely breathing. John's heart races as he calls for help, unable to believe what he's seeing. An ambulance arrives quickly, whisking Tina away to the hospital in critical condition. Bethy's grandmother arrives at the hospital, trying to comfort her granddaughter, who is broken. As John rushes into the hospital, he knows there's only one thing left to do. He speaks with Bethy, urging her to help identify the men who hurt her mother while Tina remains unconscious. Through her tears and pain, Bethy finds the strength to provide the details. With her help, the police quickly track down and arrest the attackers. At the police station, Bethy bravely points them out, her courage shining even in the darkest moment. The culprits are locked away, but the weight of what Bethy has gone through stays with her. Later, Casey visits the hospital, holding a bouquet of flowers for Tina. His face is filled with worry, and he stands in the doorway, unsure of what to say. The room feels heavy with silence, and Tina's condition only adds to the weight of the moment. Meanwhile, Mr. and Mrs. Fick are scrambling to figure out how to defend their sons against the terrible crime they've been accused of. They rush to meet with Jay, a lawyer known for handling tough cases. They beg him to take on their case, understanding how much it will cost. Jay is careful, knowing the weight of defending the accused. The price he demands is higher than they expected, and it leaves them in a tough spot. Mrs. Fick, however, will do anything to protect her sons. In a desperate move, she offers the deed to her new home as collateral, hoping it will be enough to cover the steep lawyer fees. John can't shake the worry for Bethy and Tina after everything they've been through. His concern grows stronger, and he decides to visit the hospital where Tina is recovering. When he arrives, he finds Bethy on a sofa, her face soaked with tears. He sits beside her, offering comfort, his presence a silent promise of support. A few days later, Tina is finally released from the hospital, but the damage is clear. She's both physically and emotionally broken. Her mother brings her home, and Bethy takes on the role of caretaker, staying close to Tina every moment. offering protection and care as she heals. But the nightmare isn't over for Tina. The memories of the attack haunt her, and she begins to suffer from terrifying nightmares. One night, she wakes up screaming, gripped by the horror of what happened. Her cries echo through the house, a chilling reminder of her pain. Bethy rushes to her side, fear in her heart. When she enters the room, Tina is curled up in a corner, trembling, tears streaming down her face. Hearing the commotion, Tina's mother arrives, and together, they do everything they can to calm her down, gently reminding her that she is safe now, though the scars remain. The next morning, Bethy walks to a cafe with a friend, hoping to find a little peace and forget about the chaos at home. But the moment she steps in, the tension from everything that's happened follows her, and it's impossible to escape. A girl suddenly approaches, her eyes filled with anger. She starts bullying Bethy, warning her to keep quiet. Bethy soon realizes the girl is the sister of one of the men who attacked them. The girl's voice is cold and threatening as she demands Bethy stay silent and not testify against her brother in court. Meanwhile, Tina is sitting with her lawyer, Jessica, who is preparing her for the upcoming trial. Jessica speaks confidently, assuring Tina that they will win the case. She asks Tina tough questions and encourages her to be strong, to speak for herself and the many girls who never get justice. Jessica's words push Tina to find her voice and stand up, not just for herself, but for others too. The next day, John walks into the courtroom, his eyes scanning the room. Tina arrives with Bethy and her lawyer, Jessica, but as they settle in, Mrs. Fick begins to harass Tina, making the tension thick in the air. Just as things get heated, another lawyer, Jay, steps in, introducing himself as the defense attorney. The trial begins, and Jessica stands firm, presenting the case, demanding justice for Tina. Jessica starts by questioning John about the night Tina suffered the attack, but Jay interrupts her constantly, trying to tear down every point she makes. Tina takes the stand, nervously telling her side. The judge seems distant and unsupportive, adding to Tina's fear. At one point, Tina loses it and starts screaming at the judge for being unfair. John watches in frustration, unable to help. Jessica doesn't back down. She pleads with the judge to bring the defendants to trial. Jay fights back, claiming Tina was drunk at a party that night. He says she argued with her boyfriend and then went to the park with her child to meet the defendants. Jay even suggests Tina offered money for sex, that the attack never happened, calling her story a lie. Tina breaks down in the courtroom, overwhelmed by the accusations. The crowd cheers as Tina's panic attack takes over, and she screams at the judge. Jessica quickly tries to calm her, but it's too much. John steps in, helping Tina and Bethy leave the room. That night, John burns with anger, thinking about the injustice Tina has to endure. Tina sits in her room as the doctor hands her a pill, hoping to ease her troubled mind. But just as she's about to take it, her lawyer shows up for a visit, sparking a heated argument with Tina's mother. Furious with the lawyer's failure in court, Tina's mom demands that she leave. The lawyer insists she did her best, but Tina's mother slams the door in her face, refusing to listen. Later, Tina, feeling a wave of anger, throws the medication aside and storms out of the house. She heads to a cafe, grabbing a beer, but the emptiness inside her only grows. Walking the streets in despair, she feels like there's no way out. At the edge of a bridge, she stands, ready to end it all. But at the last moment, John appears and pulls her back, reminding her about her daughter. Overcome with emotion, Tina breaks down in his arms, and John gently comforts her before escorting her home. Meanwhile, Bethy comes back from school, calling for her cat, but the cat is nowhere to be found. As she searches, she spots Tina and John. John looks at Bethy with concern, warning her to keep a close eye on her mom. He hands her his phone number, telling her to call if anything goes wrong. Bethy hears the familiar sound of her cat's bell jingling, and her heart races as she rushes outside. But when she reaches the door, she finds her cat, lifeless and hanging there. One of the men responsible mocks her, and in a burst of anger and sadness, Bethy yells at him to leave them alone. Shaking with grief, she calls John, desperate for help. After the call, she digs a small hole in the backyard and buries her cat, tears streaming down her face. When Tina's mother arrives, Bethy forces a smile, hiding her pain as best as she can, pretending everything is okay. At a local bar, one of the criminals, Jimmy, loses a $20 bet to Casey. Angrily, he storms up to Casey, bragging about what he did to Tina. The bar owner steps in to stop the argument, trying to keep things calm. John, who's been watching from the back of the bar, stays hidden, but he's paying close attention. Later, as Casey walks out, Jimmy ambushes him. Without warning, John steps forward and shoots Jimmy, killing him instantly. He quickly calls for an ambulance for Casey. When the police arrive and start questioning John, he calmly explains that it was self-defense. After hearing his story, they decide not to take any further action. Jay and Jessica sit down with the judge in his office. Jessica asks for more time to prepare, but the judge shakes his head, denying her request. Jay then turns to Jessica, telling her that the case will likely be thrown out soon, and warns her not to give Tina false hope. Later, Jay meets with the defendants, urging them to plead guilty and take the 3-year sentence, hoping to avoid something much worse. Mrs. Fick, their mother, stands her ground, furious. She refuses to believe her sons are guilty and won't accept the deal. Jay warns her that if they lose in court, they could face up to 20 years behind bars. John stands at Niagara Falls, feeling the weight of anxiety pressed down on him. The sound of the rushing water does nothing to calm his mind as his thoughts race. Meanwhile, Marvin and Lloyd are getting tattoos, trying to distract themselves. Suddenly, Marvin's phone rings. It's an investigator working for Jay, and he has some shocking news. He claims to have evidence that will make Tina's case fall apart and guarantee their victory. Determined, Marvin and Lloyd head to Niagara Falls to meet the investigator. But when they arrive, it's John who greets them, not the investigator. Without a moment's hesitation, John pulls out a gun and shoots Lloyd, sending him crashing into the rushing water below. As Marvin lunges to fight back, John shoots him multiple times, putting an end to him. The fall of both men is swift and brutal. The next morning, reporters crowd around Mrs. Fick's house, bombarding her with questions. She angrily blames Tina for driving her sons away. The media spreads rumors that the defendants ran away to escape the trial. At home, Tina and Bethy watch the news together. Bethy nervously asks if the criminals will come back. Tina reassures her, telling her they won't. Later, Tina's mother takes Bethy shopping. While she's busy looking at shoes, Fritz sneaks up on Bethy. He threatens her, warning her to stay quiet in court. Terrified, Bethy runs home as fast as she can. Tina becomes worried when she sees how shaken up her daughter is. Fritz gets a call from a woman named Ellen, who says she has important evidence against Tina. She tells him to meet her at a motel. When Fritz arrives, he calls out for Ellen, but before he knows it, John bursts in, gun in hand. John orders Fritz to write a confession about everything he's done to Tina. Fritz tries to refuse, but John won't let him get away with it. Without warning, John shoots him, making it clear that this was the price Fritz had to pay for his actions. The next morning, Tina and Bethy gather their things, ready to leave their past behind. John confronts Jay, telling him he's disgusted by his defense of criminals. Jay tries to defend himself, saying he's only doing his job, but John isn't buying. Later, Tina and Bethy meet John to thank him for everything. Tina makes the decision to start over in a new city. Bethy looks up at John and says, "Without you, my mom wouldn't be here." John smiles and calls Bethy his daughter, wishing her the best in California. As they say their final goodbyes, John's phone rings. He picks it up, ready to take on his next investigation. The screen fades to black as John walks away, continuing his mission for justice. What was the most intense scene for you in this film? Why did it stand out? So, which awesome movie should we recap next? And if you enjoyed this recap, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on more epic movie breakdowns. We've got plenty more coming your way. Thanks for watching and see you next time. This was Warner Movie Recaps, where movies come to life.